This is Hockey Talk, where we talk everything hockey. I am John.
And I'm Mike.
All right, Mike. The first topic of 2025, the World Juniors, Mike. Now, this tournament, it's a big deal here in Canada. It's a big deal in a lot of other countries. But, Mike, what is your take on Team Canada and how they did during this event? And I just wondered maybe you could briefly talk about their lack of discipline and just overall what in hell happened.
Well, I mean, the whole thing was just a complete train wreck. Um, right off the get go. I mean, the lack of offense, the poor discipline, taking penalties, terrible times. I mean, how many times did we see like a knee on knee hit? Like it's like I don't know what they're doing. Coaching, I mean, I don't know. Wasn't great the whole way around. I mean, I was expecting more offensively. However, you know, when a couple of the high scoring defensemen like Parik and Yakemchuk didn't make the team, I'm like, okay, well, that's going to hurt a little bit. And you know, a lot of people are saying they picked too many grinders and that sort of thing. And you know, as it turns out, they sort of did. To a certain degree. I mean, they had some scores, but some of the guys they were expecting to do a lot of the scoring just didn't do much at all. Like Easton Cowan didn't do too much. Cal Ritchie didn't do very much. So, you know, McKenna was probably one of their better players, and he was the youngest guy on the team. And you know, the goaltending was, you know, basically kind of what was expected. I wasn't expecting to have great goaltending, and they were, you know, they were okay. However,
Right.
just you know, the penalties hurt them. These other teams were scored on the power play. I mean, the goal last night for the game winner was, you know, it was short side, and I mean a one timer. So I mean, it is what it is. But overall, disappointing results. You know, I really don't know what more to say about it. It was just kind of there was no. It didn't seem like they had any periods of any of the games really with a lot of high energy going. Aside from some small bursts, like at the end of the Latvia game for the last minute, like Canada dominated, like they should have, and you know they had the puck, they were making plays, they played really well, but for the rest of that game, there was you know it was really inconsistent hockey. So, and I mean that just continued on for the rest of the tournament. I mean they beat Germany 3-0, which you know you'd think they would beat Germany a lot more than that because I think Germany was one of the teams that was relegated. Um, were they not, or were they?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, I thought they were one of the relegated teams. And the game against the States, I mean, they you know it was a close game for the most part, and then bad penalties and cost them a goal, and you
I
know that's
thought
how it
especially
is.
I thought especially the other night they looked scared.
They didn't play. I didn't find with the kind of the tenacity that a lot of these Canadian teams do. So I don't know what the issue was. I mean, I don't know. A lot of people are saying it's the coaching and that sort of thing, and you know maybe it is, but I mean it's on these players. I mean they're the best, some of the best players in Canada, and they should be beating some of these teams that had a lot of like rookies playing that have never played in the tournament.
Right.
And I mean, we had our share too that have never played. But that being said, I mean, the leagues that the Canadians play in are generally higher competition leagues than what some of the European teams are playing in over there. So, and I mean,
Well,
we're playing in the size of rink that we play in all the time, whereas these European teams mostly play in Olympic sized rinks. So it's just a shame that we couldn't have a better showing than what we did.
yeah, we the Team Canada didn't score very many goals. I wonder if a lot of this has to do, or some of it has to do with this whole fiasco around Team Canada overall. Not the Team Canada juniors, but I'm talking, well, you know what I'm
Yeah,
talking about when I say Team Canada,
right.
you know.
Yeah, I don't know if that really had a huge effect. I just think that, the team might not have been assembled as good as it could have been. Like I said, it was surprising to see Parekh and Yakemchuk left off the team when they're two of the uh, top scoring defensemen in the Canadian Hockey League. So, you know, and it was kind of obvious that they were lacking offense, and I think these two guys would have helped a lot more than what we actually did get, because I don't think the defense did a whole lot as far as generating points on the team. I mean, none of Canada's players were in the top scorers, which generally they're not the top scorers because they do tend to spread it out. However, there's usually a couple of guys that are up there, but there was like nothing, I think, in the top 20 in scoring this year. So,
Right. All right. Well, I'm sure that they'll blow everything up next year and try again. So we'll see what
yeah.
happens come next year. Well, let's go on to the second part of this question I wanted to ask you, and that is, Mike. Now, Team USA won this event last year. Are they going to win it again this year, Mike? And if they
Well,
do, it'll be the
I,
first time. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
no, no, go ahead.
Well, if they do, it'll be the first time Team USA ever won this event back to back. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Well, I think at this point, I would say they're the favorite. They've got Augustine and Nets, who's played really well. They seem to be playing a good team game, spreading out the scoring, but they're actually scoring, and they're dominating most of their games. So, I think that they're definitely the team to beat. They've got the Hudson on defense, who led the round robin in scoring. So, I mean, that says something right there. So I think that the states have the team that should win this tournament, and I think it would be an upset if anybody else knocked them out.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, let's go on to the second topic for this evening, and that is, I'm going to go back to him once again. Mike is Alex Ovechkin. Now he is back from injury. Now I have written here that he had 2 goals in 3 games. Now I know he scored. They played last night. I wrote these questions the other night, so he actually has 3 goals in 4 games. Now that means Ovechkin has 44 games left to get 24 goals to break Gretzky's record. Is he going to do it this year, Mike?
You know what? All signs point to yes. So, I hope he does. I'd like to see him do it this year. It'd be great to see. It's not often that you see Wayne Gretzky's records get broken. So, it'll be a big thing, obviously, if it happens. If it does, it'll probably be, right towards the end of the year. So, probably April, end of March, start of April, in that time frame. But it's going to come right down to the wire, I think.
Right, right. I agree. So now to follow up with that question, now on December 28th against my Toronto Maple Leafs, Ovechkin scored his 60th career empty net goal. That's the most of all time, Mike. Now, just to give you a little bit of reference, Gretzky had 56. He was number two. Number three was Marian Hossa with 40, believe it or not. Number four is Brad Marchand with 37. And number five, rounding up the top five, is Sidney Crosby with 36 empty net goals. Do the empty net goals take away from the record, Mike? What do you think?
I don't think so. I mean, it's something that happens. It happens every game, or every game that's close, or you know, there's always a high probability of an empty net goal whenever a team. Because now it's a little bit different from way back when. Way back when they would pull the goalie with less than a minute left.
Right,
Now, teams are pulling the goalie with 2.5 minutes left, depending on the situation.
right.
So you're going to see a lot more of them. It's going to happen. I don't think it takes anything away from it, though. I mean, it's part of the game. So
I agree. I feel the same way. I don't think it takes anything away. And Gretzky did have 56. So, I mean, it's not like he
right,
didn't have any.
yeah.
So, all right. Well, the third topic for this evening is 41,000 fans at the Winter Classic at Wrigley Field, Mike. This was the 16th Winter Classic and the third time the St. Louis Blues have played in the Classic. And believe it or not, they are 3-0 all time. So I'm thinking they probably like to play these Winter Classics. They probably like to do it more often. What do you think about Winter Classics overall, Mike, and 41,000 fans at a game?
Oh, I think it's great. I mean, these outdoor games are, they're a spectacle. I personally went to one of the Stadium Series games in Philadelphia almost 6 years ago now, when they came back and beat Pittsburgh. The atmosphere was great. Coincidentally, people sitting behind us were from New Brunswick as well. So
Wow,
it
what are the
was
chances in that?
exactly just over towards Hillsborough, I believe is where they said they were from. So I mean, yeah, they're great. If you ever get a chance to go to one, I highly suggest it, and that's for anybody, not just you. But yeah, they're great games. The atmosphere is great. Hope the warmer the weather is a little bit better. You don't want to be there when it's freezing cold, obviously.
Right.
So, but yeah, I think you're gonna pack the stadiums full. Um, Personally, I prefer the games played in like a football field as opposed to a baseball field,
Hmm.
just because the dimensions are a little bit similar to hockey. Whereas baseball, it's kind of seems like everything's a little further away in a baseball stadium. If you were at the game to watch it, than it would be at like one of the football stadiums. So, but yeah, no, they're great, and I can't see them ever stopping it. I'm surprised that they don't do more than one in a day. I would think they would do one during the day and maybe one at night, depending. Who knows? At some point, maybe they will do two of them. But plus, they also do the Stadium Series games as well when those are on the go. So yeah,
Hey, well, yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. 41,000 fans. Can't argue, can't argue with that. You're not going to see that too often at a hockey game, at an
yeah,
NHL game. So that's pretty good. So our fourth topic for this evening is I want to talk a little bit about the playoff picture in the East, Mike. Now, there's a specific reason why I'm going to bring this up, and after I get done the question, I'll tell you why. The Ottawa Senators. Now I know they lost last night, so this is all done the night before. The Ottawa Senators were 7-3 in their last 10. They've moved up to the last playoff spot in the conference with 40 points. Pittsburgh, the Columbus Blue Jackets, your Philadelphia Flyers, and believe it or not, the Montreal Canadiens are all within 3 points. Now, the Senators have played the least games with 36 out of that group, and Pittsburgh has played the most with 39, and I think that makes a difference too. So,
hmm
Mike, you have said all year that the Senators could move into this wild card spot. Now, do you believe this is going to happen? Now, before you answer that, I just want to say the reason why I'm even bringing this question up is when I heard on TSN that Montreal was within 3 points of a playoff spot. And I'm like, what? What the heck happened? And then when I looked at all this, I was like, wow. So I decided to make a question out of it and bring it out here tonight. So, what do you think, Mike? And I know
yeah.
this is all conjecture. Like, you never know what's going to happen. Anything's possible with this many teams, but
Well, that's exactly it. Like, I mean, if we were to bring this conversation back to the start of the season, and you told me that the Rangers would be in like pretty much last place in the conference, I'd have thought that you were got into some of the funny stuff or something. But I mean, yeah, I mean Ottawa's, they're a talented team. They've got two scoring lines that can score consistently, and if the third line chips in, then even better. And I mean they
right. And
have
they do sometimes. They do.
they do, and I mean their defense is strong. They've got a few strong defense. Shabbat and Sanderson pretty much lead the team when it comes to offense back there, but. I think the team also has a good blend of veterans with some younger guys as well, and some guys that are right in their prime. So I think that's a big thing for that team. And now this year they've actually got a goalie that can stop the puck. So
Yes.
I know he's
Um,
had a rough start to start the year, but it seems that he's got on track. So uh, yeah, I'm not surprised to see Ottawa in this position at all. I figured that Ottawa and Buffalo would be the two teams contending for that last wild card spot. But Buffalo went through that horrible stretch where they lost so many games. I can't even remember. It was over 10, I
it
believe.
was
So
11,
yeah. So I
11
mean, yeah,
games.
that that really cripples you when you lose that many games in a row. So yeah, it's Ottawa's spot to lose, I think, right now, and especially with the Rangers. basically falling apart out of the blue, gives them that much more of a chance to get in.
Well, personally, I still think that the Rangers can turn it around. I know it looks unlikely. That team is just so good. I just don't understand what's going on.
Well,
I don't know we've talked about it before, but it just
you know,
I think they could change something and they could do like an Edmonton Oilers last year and start winning a bunch of games. I mean, we'll see.
I mean, they've got players that are talented enough to do that. Sure. The thing that's surprising is they're one of the lowest scoring teams in the league. They scored 102 goals, I think, on the season so far, and that's near the bottom of the standings when it comes to goal scoring. So, I mean, Shesterkin hasn't looked like Shesterkin, and now he's
No, he
hurt.
is not. Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
quick got off to a great start. Like he started off really well, and now they're going to have to rely on him a little bit until Shesterkin's back. So, I'm not sure how long he's going to be out. They didn't really give too much information. So, but yeah, it's the Rangers have the talent to turn it around, but who's going to give up their spot for them basically? And I mean, it's the Rangers still have non-playoff teams that they've got to leapfrog in the standings as well. So it's going to be tough. I mean, at this point, but is it possible? Yes. I'm not sure. I haven't looked to see what the actual probability is of what their chances are of making the playoffs. I know that you can go on different
You
sites
can
and
check
stuff.
it. Yeah.
Right. So I'm not real sure of what their probability is, but I definitely say it's probably 40% or maybe lower at this
Oh,
point.
I think it'd be
But
lower than 40%.
yeah. So, so like I said, I think, Ottawa's got a good enough team that they should be able to get in. Um, and it looks like it might be at the expense of the Rangers because all the other teams that I had thought had a pretty good chance are currently in a playoff spot. So,
Right. Yeah. And I really like that I really liked Chuck. I know I've talked about that before. I mean, he's quite a beast out there. He's quite a
yeah.
player.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, he
So,
can do it all. You know, he hits, he shoots, he scores points, he plays physical all the time. I mean, he's your prototypical power forward now. So I don't think
yep.
I wouldn't say there's a better power forward in the league. Like he's the number one.
Okay, Mike, let's go on to our hockey profit segment where you are indeed the hockey prophet. I have a list of 5 questions here I'm going to ask you, and we're going to see how quickly you can answer them. And of course, I don't have my timer ready like always because I always forget. So, Mike, are you ready for the hockey profit segment?
Yep, ready to go.
Okay, Mike, number 1. How long will Zach Hyman stay on the third line in Edmonton? He has 13 goals in 32 games this year. Last year, he had 54 goals in 80 games.
I think he'll be back on the first line within a week. Like no way he's staying third line.
Okay, I agree with you totally. All right, number 2. Jonathan Huberdeau from the Calgary Flames. Hot or not, Mike? He has 7 points in his last 5 games.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping he's hot because I just traded for him in one of my hockey pools. So let's hope that continues.
All right, number 3, the Vancouver Canucks and the feud between Elias Pettersson and JT Miller. Will there be a trade, Mike?
Boys, I'm gonna say no. However, off season, possibly.
Off season. Okay, number 4, Mike. Mike, I want your opinion on the coldest team right now in the NHL. What team is the coldest team? What do you think?
Oh, geez, it's got to be the Rangers. It's got to be.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's either between them or the Predators, who have won a couple of games, but
They've
still, they're
they've
pretty
started to
awful.
come around a little bit, but the Rangers have been pretty scary the last few weeks.
Okay, and finally, Mike, number 5, and I'm sure you'll be glad when this is all over with. After tonight's game, the Flyers' next game is against the Leafs on Sunday. Believe it or not. Who will be in net for the Flyers, Mike, and who is going to win the game?
I think that it's going to be Fedotov in nets on Sunday, and
The Leafs are going to win, right?
the Leafs are probably going to win. Yeah.
Yes. All right.
I'm hoping the Flyers win on Tuesday because I'm going to be there for that one.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, that's right. So, and before we go, we just want to say that Mike is not going to be here next week. He's going to be away. So, we're not going to do a show next week, but we'll be back the week after to do a show. So, now, Mike, is there anything else that you wanted to add to tonight's discussion? Because we kind of went over a wide range of stuff here.
Yeah, nothing particularly stands out. I mean, I know that there was that, kind of a bit of a lull in between games there because of the holidays and that sort of thing. But just the only other thing that I'd like to maybe touch on is some of the guys that have ended up getting hurt that could impact their teams a little bit. Like Kaprizov is now injured, and he's going to miss some time. Nikushkin of the Avalanche just got hurt too. He's going to miss a week to 10 days or whatnot. So maybe not a huge impact there, but they will need to have someone fill his role. And I mean, Colorado made that big comeback win last night over Buffalo. So
Right. Yes.
maybe they haven't really lost a step. The other thing with Colorado signing Mackenzie Blackwood to that big long contract, I don't
You
know
don't
how.
think he's the answer, do you?
I don't think he's the answer. I don't think that's going to age well whatsoever. He's hurt way too often to be given a 5-year deal, and a lot of people have said like if and he's a free agent. It would have been a free agent at the end of the season. What other team would have offered him anything close to that? I don't think there's anybody. So I think the Avalanche, were bidding against themselves on this point. I'm pretty sure they could have signed him for less money and less years in the offseason because I don't really see much of a need from any team for a starting goalie next year that really stands out that would give him the amount of money and the amount of years that he got. So uh, we'll see what happens. I really thought that they were going to give a shot to Nabokov, the KHL goalie that they drafted. I guess that's going to be put on the back burner for a little bit, or they'll bring him in a couple of years to start off as the backup. But I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Well, I was really interested when I saw that contract. I was like shaking my head. I'm like, oh, I don't think Mike's going to like this a whole lot. But
I couldn't believe it. I heard the news first that they re-signed him, but I didn't hear the term or the dollars. And when I seen 5 years, I'm like, oh, geez, that's long. I didn't, and at that point, I didn't know what the dollars were, but I was assuming it would be around 3 million. And when I seen that it was over five, I'm like, oh my god, that's not gonna. That's, I just don't see that. Based off of his history, and I don't see it. I don't see it as a good deal. I think it's going to be one that bites them in the long run.
in one of the hockey pools you're in, when you draft a player, you can keep him for 3 years. You can give him an extension. So would
Correct.
you have
Yeah.
drafted him and given him a 2 year extension, kept him for 5 years,
No, and
Mike?
not at all. And the funny thing is I'm in 4 hockey pools this year, and he wasn't drafted in any of the pools. Um, so, and I get that he was with San Jose at the time. Now he's on everybody's. Now he's picked up in every pool, obviously, because he's on a much better
Sure.
team. However, um, yeah, I just don't see that's going to age very well based off of injury history. I mean, and he got an opportunity when he was with New Jersey, and New Jersey had a decent team when he was there, and they couldn't. He was hurt all the time. So well, we'll see. I guess Colorado will maybe learn their lesson. I guess.
Well, that maybe that's a contract that they could potentially be buying out. Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Happens every few years, so we'll see what happens. All
Yeah.
right, Mike. So I think we're going to leave it there for tonight. So like, share, and subscribe, everyone, and we'll be back in 2 weeks. Later.
Later.